chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You will hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to the
Good evening,
show.
Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Take center stage. Yes, it is good to be back with you today. And like I said, just when you know, look at there, weekend is gone. Now, the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and our or participants, is intended solely for general, informational, and entertainment purposes. I'm a little awkward here. Ugh. Yes, it's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for your specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented here. Yes, and welcome to one and all. It's Tuesday, the first official work day for this. Oh, yeah, it's the final week of January 2026. Yes, we're coming off a beautiful National Heroes Day celebration that we celebrated here in the Cayman Islands yesterday, and a day where we honored in all its glory. Yes, I must say, we honored the giants who built this country. And today, even though we brace for cooler temperatures, stronger winds as we can feel it, a bit more rain is even forecasted. Life goes on, and democracy goes on as well. And today we're diving into something that definitely affects every one of us and how Parliament works. We tried to get into this on Friday, but you know that's your day. We dedicate Fridays for you. And especially when it comes, and I dabbled into this, to the opposition members bringing bills to the floor, and whether government must debate them. And yes, we're also going to talk about something that I've been reliably informed. Yes, and that's exactly what I'm about to say, because I hinted at it on Friday, but I'm not so sure how much of you caught on to it. It is out there to be confirmed, but we're going to look at it anyhow, because it was one of the topics as I continue to elevate, educate in the civic platform. How bills are dealt with. And we break it down in simple terms. But when I heard this, and I saw also a Facebook post that made me say, well, something is out there. But yeah, we're going to use the example, should it come to fruition. What if a bill is tabled to raise the civil service retirement age to that of 70? Let's use it as a hypothetical question, what if, and just put it into today's discussion. But before we dive into this topic of civic conversation, which we do here, I want to take a moment I want to take a moment to express my sincere condolences to the family and friends and loved ones of Austin Harris. Yes, everyone knows it's blowing up social media now. And, Austin has served this country as an elected member of parliament, serving from 2017 to 2021. Whether or not you agreed with his views or not, he was also a passionate voice in our nation's dialogue and brought through the energy and conviction of issues he cared about, even in his talk shows and many hosting events. So his passing is a reminder, to be honest with you, how precious life is and how important it is for us to use our time, and in his case, to use his platforms many a times for many years, and serving this country in politics. And he did give of service. To speak up, he used his time and he contributed to the betterment of these islands that we all love. So I want to take this opportunity to send my thoughts and prayers are with his family during this difficult time. So yes, I'm quite sure we will hear more in the coming days, from his family and other official sources as well. May his soul rest in peace. 345-936-8255 is the number to call to be a part of the discussion today. And as I alluded to in the opening, what we will be dabbling into in regards to hypothetical, what if it becomes a reality? Yeah, in raising the age to 70. But before let's getting into that, I'm loving what I'm feeling outside. Hope you are too. Let's take a look at the weather forecast for tonight and into tomorrow. The synopsis calls for fresh northerly winds with rough seas and westerly swells are expected over the Cayman Islands for the next few days. A small craft advisory is also in effect. Small craft operators and boat and sea bathers, persons who are loving to go out and enjoy our warm oceans, are asked to exercise caution because satellite imageries also show scattered layered clouds across the Cayman area. So please, this is a special ask of the compliments of the Cayman Islands Weather Service that small craft operators and sea bathers are asked to exercise caution at this time. The forecast for tonight calls for mostly cloudy to 40% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise near the low to mid 80s. Winds will be north to northeast 10 to 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be rough with wave heights of 5 to 7 feet, and swells are expected along the northern coast and likely at times along the western coast. Small craft advisory is also into effect. Forecast for tomorrow calls for mostly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise near the low to mid 80s. Winds will be northeast at 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 5 to 7 feet. Swells are expected along the northern coast and likely at times along the western coast. Small craft advisory will remain in effect tomorrow as well. The sun will set this evening at 6:14, even though it's very, very cloudy out, and sun will rise tomorrow at 7:01. The outlook is for similar winds and seas through Thursday as the front continues to dominate the weather pattern across the Cayman area. And as such, again, I'll repeat, a small craft advisory will remain in effect. So please, we ask you to be responsible and just heed the warnings. Definitely, if you're out there on our seas going to and love our water, just please be very cautious. I want to send birthday greetings out for those who popped up on my radar. To class of 1990, Jerome Ebanks is celebrating a birthday today. Yes, not class of 1990, but also extending birthday greetings to Mr. Martin Bodden Jr., who's also celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday to both of you. And belated birthday greetings go out to Beverly McLaughlin. Everyone from Red Bay Primary School will know Miss Bev. Yes, she celebrated a birthday over the long weekend. And I'm wishing everybody a happy birthday, anyone that I've overlooked. Happy birthday to you. Happy anniversary, whatever it is you're celebrating. From all of us here on this Sabrina Speak show, it's good to be able to celebrate with you and even just go through those moments where we have those downers in our lives. Yeah, we're here for you. But it's good to be back, as I said. Let's see who's in the house and commenting. Annie, Anne, you commented first today. Hi, how are you? Happy Tuesday to you. I almost said Monday. It feels like that. Yes. And hello to you. Hi, Damian Henry. Good to have you in the house. Good evening, Donnie. How are you? Thank you very much for your compliment. I had to brighten the spirits, to be honest with you, with the gloominess, the bad news, everything. Yeah, I got to do something to but thank you very much for that compliment. Darlene, hi. Good evening. How are you? Josh is good. I hope you're being good. Hello to you as well. Marshall, it's always a pleasure to have you join us. Cold busting your shirt right now, you brute. Bet you keep your mouth shut now, Marshall. Connie Bonnie, good evening. How are you? A kinder, gentler world and the massive. It's always good to have you here. Chen Zheng, good afternoon too. Yes, it's good to have you all here. I know you like the shout outs, and that's why I make sure I keep an eye on here. Keep it respectful, and I'll big you up. I'm more than happy to have you. And even for those of you who don't comment, thank you. Your feedback means a lot to me everywhere I go. I get the feedback all the time. And even though I don't see you comment, thank you for your support. Even if you do it after the fact, some of you are playing catch up. And, I appreciate the support. And it makes it known that our topics are hard hitting here and that we're keeping up with what's relevant. And obviously, it's thought provoking. Yes. Connie, good. I'm happy for you. I hope you had a good weekend, Connie, and you behaved yourself. I was a good girl this weekend, I must say. And I'm being honest. I was good. Marshall, the snow has now already, so I'm good, but it's cold. Oh, okay. Yeah, just don't fall. Don't slip and fall, my friend. You're not as young as you think. Little joke there. Now let's get right to it, to the global headlines roundup. I know a lot of you look forward to this, and I didn't realize how much you actually, where do you find this news is what I'm getting. But yeah, I do. I go digging all day, all week, and I try to keep it relevant from right here to the US, the UK, and definitely around the world. Well, let's look at the roundup for today. Yes, between here, the United Kingdom, and around the world. That's what's making headlines today. We're here at home. We know, again, National Heroes Day honors, yes, announced yesterday. And congratulations to the family of the late Benson Ebanks. Yes, Benson Obadiah Ebanks was officially named a national hero during yesterday's Heroes Day celebration. And the ceremony also recognized local builders, as we said, and we helped you nominate those persons, builders and infrastructure pioneers for their contributions to the Cayman's development. And there was a huge celebration after the fact, and that was well supported. There's a drone show. There was also fireworks. I saw the maypole dancers by those kids from the Edna Moyle School in Northside. Excellent. We had a lot of local showcase talent. It was just a good feel out there. I want to throw it out there. We're celebrating Heroes Day. And I was speaking, I think, with my aunt over the weekend, and I said, wow, I know it's coming off the heels of the festive season, but I mean, we're celebrating Cayman's heroes, right? What if that was something that kicked off even like a Friday night, and you started off all local talent, you kicked it off with however you wanted to kick it off, be it a nice concert in town with our local artisans and local artists, and just go back and you share in those moments. And you maybe have, again, people always come up for drone show or fireworks or both, whatever. And then the Saturday, you do something where you showcase all of our artisans or food and acknowledge all of those heroes and all of that sort of stuff. And you just make it. You have like each section dedicated to each hero. And you go ahead and you talk about where they came from, what they were known as. And then you repeat all of highlight, what this year's theme is, what and why these people would be considered. And then Sunday, you have like a national outside church service or something. I don't know, get all the churches together like a choir thing, because it's our National Heroes Weekend. And then Monday, so you're not cramming everything into one day and Tuesday's school, you have exactly what you had on Monday. You have all the uniform service, go out in their parade, you do the honor, the distribution, and you make your announcements and all that sort of stuff. And then guess what? The afternoon is free to do whatever you want, however you want it, whether you want to continue the celebrations, but privately. But you would have pretty much did the whole weekend, and the grand finale is exactly what you did yesterday, but you may not have to go until 9 o'clock at night. It's just an idea. We were just talking like how we could just make an entire weekend, and that's Cayman Pride. What are your thoughts on that? Like, you start from the Friday evening, Saturday, you have something Sunday, and then you do the same thing on the Monday, or just what we're accustomed to. I'd like to get your feedback. For all of you in the Ministry of Culture, hint, hint. Yeah, but there we go. So also in local headlines, honoring the journey, powered by heart. That's the theme for the 2026 Deputy Governor's 5K Challenge. And this year, it carries a special weight. As the community prepares for the annual charity run, it also prepares to celebrate the legacy of Deputy Governor Frans Manderson, whose decades of public service have left an indelible mark on the Cayman Islands. And, the launch event that was announced this year benefits the Special Olympics Cayman Islands, the Breast Cancer Foundation, and Jasmine, also formerly known as Hospice Care. Now, the event continues to unite the country around fitness, philanthropy, and public service. And this year also is a tribute to a career powered by heart. And trust me, anyone knows Mr. Manderson's story, he can attest to that and exactly what that means. So also in local news, Cayman launches global tourism campaign. Now, this one is quite interesting. The Department of Tourism has launched a new global campaign titled Welcome to Vacay, offering one lucky traveler a 2-week all-expense-paid trip to the Cayman Islands as part of their wellness and relaxation initiative. Of course, you can go on the Department of Tourism, their website, and you can hear more about that if you're listening to us. And we know we got you from all over the world, but yeah, who to tell? You may be the lucky winner of a 2-week all-expense-paid trip right here to the Cayman Islands as part of a wellness and relaxation initiative. Kudos to our Department of Tourism. And look, crypto meets football in Cayman. Guess what? Taken from some news out of the Philippines, Tubet, a global crypto exchange, and Lagili have launched a 1 million super match carnival campaign based in Cayman, blending sports, blockchain, and tourism. You got to go dig up for more of that. Over across the pond, we can see where the Prime Minister, Kirk Schumer, is under pressure after blocking Andy Berman's leadership ambitions. Over 50 Labour MPs have signed a letter to protest deepening party divisions. So yeah, it also is happening over there. And Parliament debates key legislation. The House of Commons is debating several major bills this week, including the Armed Force Bill and Finance Bill and a fast-track medical training reform. Quite interesting, isn't it? Here in the Caribbean region, we see where the U.S. Virgin Islands were named Cruise Destination of the Year, with tourism officials celebrating the opening of a new boutique hotel in St. John's. And also, Caribbean leaders are closely monitoring the U.S. military activity. They continue to monitor that near Venezuela with calls for diplomacy and respect for regional sovereignty. So that's still actually topping the headlines. In global news, we see where India and the European Union have finalized a sweeping free trade agreement covering nearly a quarter of global GDP. Now, the Prime Minister, Modi, called it India's most significant trade impact to date. Yeah, that's what's happening. But look here, I stumbled upon this one. Airport reinstate health checks amid EFA virus outbreak. I really went and fact-checked this. And guys, it's true. Now, airports across Asia have reintroduced COVID-style health screenings in response to a recent outbreak of the Nipah virus in India. Now, that is a rare but deadly virus with no known cure. And the outbreak centered, even though it's in West Bengal, has prompted countries like Thailand, Nepal, and Taiwan to implement temperature checks, health declarations, and symptom screenings for travelers arriving from these affected areas. Now, the Nipah virus, which spreads through contact with infected animals or people, has a high fatality rate, estimated between 40 to 75%, according to the World Health Organization. But while it's not airborne like COVID-19, it can cause severe respiratory and neurological symptoms. Now, health official emphasized that there is no immediate threat here to the Cayman Islands, but the situation is being closely monitored by international health agencies. So that is something for us to keep an eye on at the end of the day, very close. We know we have a very diverse population here. People are coming back from the holiday travel and all this sort of stuff. I'm quite sure public health officials are already on the ball with this, but that's our global headlines. Some of them, oh my gosh, I got so much. I could probably do 2 hours on it, roundup for today. But keeping you engaged and informed, and you can always go back and fact check these things for yourself and get deeper into the story. 345-936-8255 is the number to call to be a part of this discussion, because your feedback is welcome all the time. There we have it. There we go. Good evening, Ms. Rose. It's good to have you. Marshall, in your dreams, Rosie Rose, it's good to have you with us. Now let's get into it. I actually did pull up the substantive conversation today. Yes, I pulled up that Parliament Standing Orders 2025, and I'll be citing a number of that to you in regards to this conversation. But if in case you missed Friday, or you may have missed it because there was so much information that we shared, did you know, I'm just going to put it out there, that here in the Cayman Islands, even if you're not part of the sitting government, as an elected member of the opposition, our standing orders actually allows you to be able to draft a bill and present it to Parliament. Did you know that? Well, let me tell you something. That's a fact. It's right. That's the truth. Yes. Our Constitution of 2009 and the Standing Orders of Parliament gives every elected member the power to propose legislation. Now, these are what you call a private member's bill or private member's motion. And for hypothetically speaking, we're going to be using an example as a private member's bill today to focus our conversation around, okay? Now, once introduced, that is this bill, the Speaker of our Parliament here in the Cayman Islands ensures that they are properly scheduled and that government is required to debate them in the House. Yes. Yes. Now let's bring this to life, to real life, as I alluded to. Imagine, for the context of this conversation, what if an opposition member drafts a bill to raise the civil service retirement age to that of 70? Yeah, what happens? In this case, like I said, under the standing orders, it is allowed. The Speaker then will accept it. It's placed on an agenda, and the government must debate it, even if they do not support it. MPs from both sides will then be given the opportunity to debate, to argue the merits, and the bill may be amended, supported, or even rejected. But a lot of you didn't realize that that was actually in the standing orders. So even if you're not a member, a sitting member of cabinet, as long as you follow the rules of how bills are actually presented to the parliament here in the Cayman Islands, whether or not it's a part of the strategic policy statement of a sitting government's agenda for their term, this is in the standing orders of parliament that a sitting member can actually do this. Now, think about how this could play out in real life, because we're hypothetically speaking. There are some implications, whether you're for or against it, I guess we'll soon know, because sometimes these things may be in isolation, but something of this magnitude, even though it's only speaking hypothetically, addressing and increasing the age of the civil service, this could have ripple effects. Because if civil servants retire later, private sector companies may feel the pressure to match the retirement age to also remain competitive. And then when you look at the costs versus the benefits, what could happen is that older employees brings experience and stability, but healthcare and insurance costs may also rise. When you look at the workforce dynamics then with something of this nature, promotions and new hires could also slow down, affecting younger workers in the private sector as well. Now, but we're talking right now on both sides, private and public sector. Now, when you look at the role of the sitting government, the government, you say, well, they run the show. They decide whether or not to support, amend, or even reject a bill, right? But even if they oppose it, they still must debate it. But something as emotive as this, I can assure you, they're going to have a hard time actually debating or saying no to it. Remember, it is not a motion for the government to consider. This is a bill. The difference in a motion is that it is a such suggestion, a recommendation for the government to consider. But a bill is writing a substantive piece of law to be debated on. And if it is approved, it must go into law. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks.
Hi, good evening, Sabrina. So you're saying that they want to increase the retirement age to 70 in Cayman?
What if? What if? What if?
What if? Yeah, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, if somebody ever proposed a bill to increase the retirement age to 70 in Cayman, both the young and the old would strike that down with extreme prejudice.
But not if
Right
it has
off
to
the
be
bat.
debated. Where do you, I hope and everybody's hearing me. If you have to actually look at how it's being debated on the floor, it's going to be hard to say no. It's going to actually spark national debate. We're just using it hypothetically. And the core and the purpose of today's episode is to educate the public that bills, the big takeaway here, caller, is that bills are not only tabled by the sitting government. Standing orders allow opposition as well to table a bill. That's the big takeaway.
Yeah. Then you would also have to bring in a lot of because this not only applies to retirement and work and stuff, but there's also you touched on it yourself. There's going to be a lot of socioeconomic factors that are played into effect, right? And you need to look at the replacement rate of the workforce as well. Because generally speaking, I believe the replacement rate should be like around for every like one retiree, there should be like, I think, don't hard quote me on this. I think it's like 6 employees to 1 retiree. The only way I can see that possibly making sense is if Cayman has a workforce replacement rate of like 3 or less, which I don't really see because of a lot of immigration that's been happening. Plus, I don't think, I mean, quote me on this or, don't misquote me, but I don't think Cayman is facing a population decline, is it?
Decline of our own generational Caymanians, but in general, no, we're actually increasing. But we use hypothetically that if this bill is raising the retirement age to that of 70 in the government, not private, you get me? They were just exempted from certain things as well.
Right.
Then, are you seeing where we're going here?
Yeah, it's going to create a really nasty ripple effect. And I'll tell you that right off the bat, because like you said before, if the government's doing it, then private companies are going to try to do it to follow suit. Plus, it makes them a lot more money if you really think about it, right? They don't have to hire new workers. They can keep old experienced workers on for longer, drag out the pension. Cayman uses I know the government has a pension system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that. I'm trying to figure out if Cayman has do they have like a private, like a 401k? You know what I'm trying to talk about?
No, I know the 401k, you get for government, I'm being very specific because that was another episode.
Yeah.
Government is the only one that has payout for life. Private, no. Once your pension is done, it's done. But government is the only one that has, once you've been working for 10 years or more, you can get payout for life.
Okay, so you just get paid out in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But that question lies whether or not, why the disparity, and that's a total different conversation. I wanted to get into how the Constitution ties into this, how it actually works, because a lot of people did not know it could actually, that could happen. That a private member could actually bring a bill and pretty much weighing in on whether or not the speaker can reject it or not allow it. Nope. And I was going to tell you how and why not. But a lot of people, but for something like this has implications, which is what you're drawing on. But the simple answer of saying, wow, I didn't know, but Miss Sabrina just said it. People just had no clue that under the standing order of 2025, yes. So the thought-provoking question and the national topic, hypothetically, because there's no proof that it's going to be a reality. I just used it as a what if, because I have heard, I've heard some rumblings, and I'm saying, let me look into this. How is that possible? I mean, as a sitting member, I knew it is possible, but I deliberately put myself in the other position, right? And then I started seeing some comments and dropping 1-2 words here, and people like, nah, they're not the government. I said, but standing orders does cover it. What do you mean standing orders? It is in standing orders. I said, we talk about democracy all the time. Can you imagine if only the sitting government, only the sitting cabinet ministers or that government could actually do a motion? Then where would democracy lie? You see, it's all about a balance.
Right.
So why would it not be in the standing orders is another thing, but nobody limited what bills or motions could be submitted by any member of parliament, especially that of the opposition. And the hypothetical question, what if a bill came in to raise the age of the civil service to that of 70? That's not just a political campaign bill. That's a national topic.
Right. Yeah. And if some, I mean, even in America, they've been discussing raising the retirement age here as well. I think, have they? Not too sure. But sorry, I haven't reached that point yet in my life. But I'm not that old. So Just trying to think. So if it becomes a national topic, because I mean, to be fair, like if Cayman, the only way I could see that being actually, somebody going in there and putting that in for a topic of discussion to the members of parliament. Honestly, like you said, it's going to create a lot of national debate, and it's going to it's going to really upset a lot of young people as well as old people, right? Like the older generation, like the Gen X and the boomers, right? But it's really going to affect a lot of the young people as well, because, then if you have more people staying in the workforce, right, and they're not phasing out, that would limit our opportunity to climb the corporate ladder, right? Because these people aren't phasing out, or they're not phasing out as fast, right? And you also have to bring into, consideration, well, you already brought this up with yourself. Health insurance, that gone through the roof. They're going to increase that right off the bat. Same thing with driving. You understand? Like car insurance, that's going to go through the roof as well. And does Cayman have like I'm trying to remember, do they have like a test that, like old people have to take after a certain age to see if they're still eligible for driving?
We don't use the term old people. We use seniors is more accepted. But no, the answer no.
Seniors.
The answer is no. You don't have like a
Okay, so,
refreshers where that if you get older in age, when you go to renew, because that could almost fringe along the lines of discrimination because you're older. Now they do ask if you're hearing impaired, if you are visually impaired. Of course, you would be expected to declare those things, but it's a broad question on the application for renewal. But sometimes these things are identified by immediate family members, and they're actually the ones who discourage. We know that we have some persons who are in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's or dementia, and you don't want to actually insult them by any way. You want to deal with them with dignity and still allow them to have a form of independence. And then, but this is where a lot of family conversation needs to have, but directly to your answer, no, not that I'm aware of. Where the older you get, that there's a retest or a refreshers or anything like that, no.
Okay, no problem. I was just double checking because, it's been such a long time.
You use that term around here, my love, you'll get a wet ride across you. It's just respected dignity or seniors.
Yeah, I gotta have one
or
of the seniors chasing me
older
down.
persons law. There's an Older Persons Act, but seniors is more dignified and respectful. We don't say old people.
Okay, no problem. Well, for the seniors then, like, if somebody really brings that in, like you said already, and you and I both mutually agree on, it's going to be a very heated national debate, right? It's going to be one of those things where, like, it's funny, but I see like the older generation and the younger generation actually agreeing on. That's one of like the very few things that both generations will actually agree on mutually. Is to not increase the retirement age in the government. Because I mean, let's be honest, Sabrina, you got people in there. You have like members of the parliament that they just run. They sit in their office and they just keep running, and some of them sit in that position for years. And
well,
go from
that has sparked conversation as well, whether or not there should be term limits to elected members of parliament. It has also brought up other conversations as to whether or not there should be term limits for certain high-ranking positions within the in the government as well. Like, for example, this came up over the vacant position now of the deputy governor and the attorney general, whether or not, for example, just for the context of this discussion, there could be more. That those two positions are made with term limits, let's say within the range of 10 to 15 years, not exceeding 15 years. Those have been discussions that have been had as well, whether based on the age of a member of parliament, how much terms should one serve? But then how do you do that? You will need some information and guidance, legal guidance, so you're not discriminating as well. So these are bigger discussions that are being had. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are some private members' motion that we will see at some point, recommending these changes. Now, how does the public feel about those things? You've alluded to it, whether you've said it, that you've seen members of parliament been there for years, and how do you create the space then for the younger generation? How much terms do you feel in it? Is it consecutive, or what if one doesn't get elected in one term? Do they stay out for one term or two terms before they come back? Do you remove the age cap and just say, look, after doing 3 consecutive terms or 2 consecutive terms, you have to sit out for one? I don't know. I mean, this is why this platform is here. Let's throw it out there. What do you feel? At what point do you cut it off, though, for serving? Is there a magic number? We don't know for certain roles. You see?
Yeah, I mean, we could. No, I totally get it. And like, again, this is a giant thought experiment, right? This is a what if scenario. Cool. For me, if I were to throw a magic number out there, I would say it depends on the position. So if you're taking a very high ranking position, maybe the attorney general or the deputy governor, I would say 10 years. I'd say 10 years, and then just have it roll over every single 10 years, for high ranking positions. But for certain positions, for example, do we vote on I don't know, the chief immigration officer?
No, you don't. That's an application that is filed. That's an application. There's no vote for those positions. That is a department recruitment process.
Okay, so it's department heads are out of the equation. We're just talking about Congress.
They're just certain. Again, these are just suggestions to spark public debate as we continue to modernize our society, and how certain key roles in the civil service, as you rightly alluded to, could impact, or whether or not we should consider certain things, like the deputy governor and the attorney general. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because, my personal take on, if we're going to just solely isolate the conversation to members of Congress and, the premier and the electoral body that we can vote in, I would say we should have reasonable term limits, what reasonable looks like. I don't know. I'm not going to be the arbitrator on what is reasonable. And like you said, it needs to be discussed, because there's a lot of extraneous factors that play into that, I guess my thing is we see this time and time again, right? People just keep getting into office, they sit the position, they hold that position, and eventually they just die in that chair. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or anything, but they will hold that position until they reach 70, 75 sometimes, and you're just
that not old.
Where do the young people?
I'm just saying, that's not old anymore, right? That age is not old.
Yeah, it's gone up. I think life expectancy is now I'm not too sure about in Cayman, but I know average life expectancy in the US, I think is 7 to 6, and some people push to 84 plus. So.
Well, I'm going to ask you to leave me there so I can get into the crooks and crannies. And then if you have any further contributions, let me just get out the Constitution and share with what the current standing orders does say, so that we can get along with, get a better understanding. Okay?
Yeah, man, no worries.
All right. Thank you. There you have it. Thank you, caller, for your contribution. And that's weighing in on it from the younger minds that you've all have encouraged having here. Now, let's just talk in regards to how our Constitution actually plays into this. Because if you all want to follow along, I will try to share my screen or clippings with you. But our Constitution of the Cayman Islands is clear. The Constitution Order of 2009, which we know, and we have covered it here, is the supreme law of the land. And it tells us exactly who can make laws, how the system is also structured. It doesn't list every step, though, of the legislative process, but it does make one thing clear for sure, that Parliament makes the laws, and every elected member has a role in that process, whether you're the sitting government or you're in opposition. So in layman's terms, that actually means that opposition members are not spectators. They too are lawmakers. even though they're in the opposition. And they too, in accordance to standing orders, can introduce bills in this hypothetical scenario, and they can propose amendments as well, as we have seen, bills and laws for debate and stuff that they, in the committee stage amendments, opposition makes a recommendation, amendments are a part of the process as well. And they, the opposition, can challenge the government's policy. That is democracy playing out right there, okay? And the Constitution Order of 2009 gives that very same right. Now, the standing orders, in this case, weighing the two and putting them side by side, gives how it's done. That gives the method. And what that really means in democracy is that it's not just government, since we use the word democracy so broadly. A lot of us really do not understand the impact that that has. It's not just government that can do that. It's not that just government can introduce these new laws. We're seeing it right here in standing orders of 2025 that members of the opposition can do that. And just for context, for those of you who didn't know, right? The standing orders of 2025, again, is the rule book. And in February of 2025, our parliament here in the Cayman Islands, in case you didn't know, they adopted a new one. This one is more modernized. It is the rule book replacing the old 1976 version. And what this new standing orders of 2025 says in this context of what we're using here is that any member may introduce a bill. It's clear. And the bill in itself that's being introduced must be drafted, submitted to the clerk, and placed on the order paper. You heard what I said? And placed on the order paper. Now, the Speaker of Parliament is responsible for the management of this order paper, but not arbitrarily. And once that bill meets all of the requirements, and I'm going to screenshot it for you. Once that bill meets all of the requirements, it must be listed on the order paper. Now, the elected government, the cabinet, and whoever sits on the government side, including backbenchers, controls most of the parliament's time. Yeah? But the standing orders in itself protect something called private members' business. And they have a designated day. That day is on Thursdays. And that, my friends, is the space where the very same opposition members can bring forward bills and motions and even ask questions. Okay? So give me a minute. Let me just cut this out here for you so that so you all can follow along with me. And it is nothing in, if you guys are quick on Google, you can also pull it up for yourself. And it's called Parliament Standing Orders of 2025. And I'm going to highlight section 41 and 42 that actually says, and that's on page 27. And what I'm going to do there, guys, is that I'm going to show this to you so that you can see Standing Orders 41. There we go. Yeah, so that you can see for yourself what I'm saying here, and you can follow along with me. So this is going to be Standing Orders 41 and 42. And the thing is, you can't get away from it. They can't You can't just slap it out and just say, oh, we're not going to do it. You don't have that luxury. Okay. Let me see if I can get it up on the screen here for you. And when we all learn together, it is so much easier. 41 and 42. Here we go. I got it. There we go. And then I'm going to also clip another section once we go along here. Let me save this right here for you. Makes it easier. You see that one? Notice of amendments. That is the notice part of it. Okay? And in the law, page 27, it clearly states what that process is like. Remember I said that it can't be declined. It cannot be declined. And under this section, it says, where understanding orders is required, the notice shall be given in writing, signed by the member and addressed to the clerk. A notice under subparagraph 1 shall be handed to the clerk when the house is sitting, or sent by hand or email, or left at the clerk office at any time during hours prescribed for the purpose. Subsection 3, if the presiding officer is of the opinion that any notice motion which has been received by the clerk infringes the provisions of any standing order, is in any way out of order, the presiding officer may direct A, that the member concerned be informed that the notice of motion is out of order, or B, that the motion be approved with such alterations as the presiding officer may direct. Now that's your standing orders 41, okay? And what is here, it also goes along with saying that the period of notice as well of 5 business days, that's in standing orders 42. So it is clearly outlined here that if at the end of the day, these standing orders are followed, the speaker really have no way of saying, no, we can't take it. It has to be taken. And it has to be debated as much as it may actually slow down the function and the running of the office of Parliament. So the takeaway here for this actual standing order of 41 in a synopsis style, again, right, is that any member of government or opposition, once they give written notice to the clerk, that notice in itself can be handed in during the sitting or sent by email, dropped off to the clerk office. And the speaker or the presiding officer can only intervene if the motion breaks the rules of Parliament. And that's what this section 41 is saying. It can't block it just because they don't like it. Okay? And for the notice period of 5 business days, before a motion can be debated in this case, whether from the government or in a case from somebody in the opposition, this has to actually have that 5 business days submission before the next sitting of the House. Like when you hear, oh, a bill is coming, like this one that we're hearing whispers of, and it could raise civil service retirement age, as we were alluding to, because we're only using it hypothetically. There's a process. And this actually is the outline. It is written, it is public, and it is actually here to protect fairness and transparency of our very same democracy. So at the end of the day, it's not just practice. This is a rule of law. And this is it in action if you ever heard it before. This is it right here. Many a times we hear these things and we wonder to ourselves, how can that be done? They're not the member of Parliament. But I think it is important for these things to be showcased, because at the end of the day, you have to understand it when certain things are being debated, so that when you're out there and you're hearing certain certain things, you are coming from an informed perspective where you can speak coming informed, and at the end of the day, it all makes sense. Because there also a certain part under the standing orders of 2025 that exempts any notice. Yes, it exempts notice. And that is under section 43. And I'm going to actually share that one with you as well and bring it to you. Standing Orders 43. To help it make sense, because I want you, when you see these things, should it become a reality, this or any other bill that is being brought forward by someone who is not a sitting member of cabinet, you wouldn't be caught off guard. And sometimes when you hear the rumblings, you're saying, well, how the heck can they do that? I'm actually here sharing it with you how it can be done. Now, here's something people don't even know. Section 43 of the same Parliament Standing Orders of 2025. A lot of people don't know this, you know. While most of motions and bills in Parliament require written notice of at least 5 business days, as we've seen in the earlier section, in advance, there are specific exemptions, and these exemptions where notice is not required. In accordance to this, section 43, it would be, for an example, of things like a motion to be amended, to amend another motion, a motion to adjourn the House or debate, a motion to suspend standing orders with Speaker's permission, of course, a motion to withdraw a bill, a motion to suspend a member, or a motion to even close a debate. What's, you know, at the end of the days, at the end of the day, that's what this section 43 is outlining. And these are often procedural or urgent matters that need to be handled in real time. So that's where the exemption clause can come out, right? So while most business in Parliament really follows a notice period, the standing orders in themselves does make room for flexibility, but only in what we can see here, clearly defined cases. Again, there is also another section where at the end of the day, it may be a case where the speaker may actually have to do these amendments and all of that sort of stuff. There's an admissibility of motions, and that is covered, interestingly enough, in section 44, right? But for the sake of this, you need to understand where this is coming from. And I think breaking it down, and I'm doing my best to break this down in layman's terms for you to understand. In the event of what we're hearing as rumors right now becomes a reality, you are in the position to say, well, look here, I know for a fact we have heard this, and this is 44 and 45. We have heard this, and I see it in the law where everything that's being done here is legal. So I don't want anyone to be caught off guard at any point in time, because you know what do old people say? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And in section 44 and 45, it covers 2 other very important topics. And I'm hoping you all are following me along, because I want to get your feedback on some of these, on some of this information here, okay? Admissibility in motions is now the next one that I will be showing you, and that's section 44 and 45 of the Parliamentary Standing Orders. So there you have it there on the screen. Let's talk about the admissibility part of it in Parliament, because not every motion, of course, will get the green light. And under section 44 and 45 especially, a motion must be clear, it must be focused, and it must be respectful. And in this case, it must raise one definite issue, not multiple, and only include the facts needed to explain what it is about. So what happens is that the presiding officer of Parliament, that is the Speaker, is the sole judge of whether a motion, a bill is admissible. And there are strict rules for coming to that conclusion. He, in this case, must follow the rules that there's no offensive or sarcastic language used in the bill or the motion, that there's no unnecessary naming of individuals in the motion or the bill, no personal attacks, only public conduct can be debated, and no recycling, which is interesting, of topics already debated in the same session. That's the key takeaway. In the same session. And also, under this part, 45, no jumping ahead of committee work that is still ongoing. So you can't really preempt. No. These rules, by the way, aren't about censorship, to be honest. They're just about keeping the debate focused, respectful, and at the end of the day, hoping that we can get some productivity. Because outside of that, trust me, it could be, like those old hamsters going around in that wheel. So when you see these motions, or motion in itself is ruled out of order, it is not always political, Please don't misread it. You got to read the room, but you also have to understand it. It is, in most times, procedural. Okay? And here are the rules. And that's how Parliament protects the integrity of its debates. Yes. Today's episode of Sabrina Speaks is not prejudicial by age of any means. And I would love to get the weigh-in of this, because I would love to get the weigh-in from maybe someone in the private sector if this becomes a reality, and maybe even somebody in the civil service. How do you feel? Should this become a reality? Are you in support of the raise of retirement age to 70? And if you're in the private sector, how would your long-term succession planning look if this becomes a reality? Would you feel pressured if something like this makes it on the floor of Parliament and actually is debated upon and voted yes for whatever reason? We could have a plethora of reasons as to why, maybe through political pressures, persons may not want to vote it down. But looking at the grander scheme of things, what's your opinion? Should this be something that we look into if it becomes a reality? Like I said, these were just hypothetically, because I know I'm not the only one who has seen what has been in circulation on social media. And you know how it go. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind? I didn't ignore you. I didn't see it till just now. Honestly, I didn't see it until just now.
boy, that came out quick.
Conscience. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't see it. Yeah. How are you, my sweet?
No, I am great. Thank you. I just wanted to chime in on just listening to your discussion here. And I think we all know that this discussion about increasing that retirement age to 70 for civil servants has been a bit of a chatter in the community for quite a bit of time. I guess my only question as somebody in the private sector is I would want to know why. First of all, why are they wanting to have this increase to 70? What is the cost to the public purse of increasing that.
I didn't say
70?
that the government. I didn't say it's the government. We're hypothetically using the scenario. What if there's a private member's bill, meaning a member of the opposition that
Understood.
puts together? It's not the government. So,
Well,
but
if it comes, if I don't care who brings it,
okay.
who brings it, right? But my question is, why?
Mhm.
What's the purpose of it? What do they hope to achieve
Mhm.
by doing that? And what is the cost to the public purse? I think in our discussion, I think last week, you and I touched on what is we already know in non-contributory health and pension. That still continues. That still continues. And another question or another thing that comes to mind, I think right now the average lifespan of a woman, I think, is 81 and 70 for a man. What? I mean, what do they plan on doing? Working until they die? Like, what, do these people not get an opportunity to actually retire? And I do understand, and I do.
Some
hear the
people can't
argument
afford it.
We can't afford to.
Correct.
Precisely, we can't afford to retire them. But the goal should not be to continue to move the goalpost. And then what was 60 became 65. Now it's becoming 70. Then before too long, we'll be at 85. And then, Jesus, God help me, we'll just continue moving it instead of addressing the elephant in the room, which is clearly the cost of living and what we can do to try to reduce it, bring it down, curtail it, whatever the issue is at hand that's causing this extravagant rise in the cost of living, because I do not believe that anybody wants to work beyond their, I would consider, and I'm gonna make my own term, natural retirement age. Like, people live to get to 60 so that they can, I'm about to retire. Adding an additional 10 years onto that is taking an additional 10 years from that person's life that they should be spending with their making the best of the last days. At 70, you got more. If you are blessed to live to see 70, you have more days behind you than you do ahead of you. What are we doing? What are we doing? We are completely altering the quality of people's lives, and it just feels like the Hunger Games, like no end in sight. Like you're born, you work, you die.
So I'm getting, based on your feedback, that you wouldn't be in support of this should this become a reality to raise the retirement age in government or nationally, let's say, to 70.
Well, I'll speak from a private sector perspective, and I'm not suggesting that anybody agrees with me, right? But right now, again, to point out, this is a cost burden to the government to increase this, right? You have an additional, like I said, non-contributory health and pension. So you've now added I think government is 65 years old right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you're adding an additional 5 years of additional potentially, and nobody can tell you when to retire, right? But they can tell you when they can no longer keep you. You're adding an additional 5 years of expenses onto the civil service budget, onto their operational costs, which we know is already astronomical. However, we're not seeing the same thing in the private sector. So in the private sector, for the most part, I believe that's 60 years old. Again, we're back at the same argument of an us and them. Follow my logic for a second here. Again, private sector people are already behind the 8 ball, 5% of their salary. We're also behind the 8 ball in having to contribute as much as 50% toward our health insurance. Now you want to further widen the gap and create a further possible, I don't even know what the word is I would use right now, to increase the age for those people. So are you suggesting that the people in the private sector can afford to retire then? what is the suggestion, or what conclusion should we draw from it? And I just don't think that the government, and let me just say, when I say government, the parliament, the 19 members
Gotcha.
should be going around creating a further divide that we already in the midst of what is a crater with other things, with other us and them conversations. And I don't think the government should be in the business of widening that or facilitating it or putting to whatever you want to use, whatever phraseology that you want to use in trying to, they should be trying to kind of bring everybody on one even footing so that people aren't either dying to get into the civil service or dying to get out. But right now, I mean, it kind of feels like everybody dying to get in there and dying in there.
Well, one question, Tartarian had a good question. My question would be, and I quote, my question would be to any sensible person, why would you want to work until 70 if you're still struggling at 70? We have failed as a nation. And if you don't need to work, retire. Why wait to 70 is the question. What's your feedback on that one?
I wholeheartedly agree. And it's not about whether or not you need to work or you don't need to work, because Bill Gates don't need to work. He's still working. Whether it's working on his investment portfolio, he's still working. So it's not about necessity. It's about practicality for me, right? Am I suggesting that there aren't people out there who will still have bills? I think we highlighted that. But the same is true. The same is true for people in the private sector. We're going to still have bills after I don't hear CUC out there offering free electricity service for retirees.
True.
Let me be clear. The water companies, Cayman Water Authority, they're not offering free water for retirees. I have yet to know or hear about the insurance company that is offering even a discounted health insurance for retirees. In fact, it's the absolute opposite. It's higher.
It's higher. The older you get, you become more of a risk.
More of a risk, right? And I'm just suggesting, and to agree with Tartarian that why I absolutely agree that we would have failed as a nation to continue to increase the retirement age. I just highlighted that the average lifespan for a woman is in 2020, I think it was 2025, was 81, and for a man it was 70. That's the reality, Sabrina. You and I, well, like everybody can see at the rate that we're going. I mean, some not even making it to 70.
No, but the amount of MVAs that we're having, just sudden deaths. I mean, it's and motor vehicle accident, period.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, to further take away from people who should be at home spending time with their family. Ain't nobody know when they're leaving this world. I dare tell you that. Nobody don't know that. And to further take away from that makes me a little uncomfortable. And I hear the argument, but what I'm saying is, if somebody who should rightfully retire at the age of 60 and wants to take full advantage of that, power to you. If you can do it at 55, 50, whatever, I have even more respect for you. But if at 60, you haven't figured out financially where things are or where things are headed, another 10 years is not going to help you. Another 10 years simply won't help you. The more you hear that, more money, more problems. That is one of the most gospel truths I've ever heard. And you go out there, the more you know that you have X amount of dollars coming in, you have this job, you seem to think that you're not replaceable and it's going to be there forever. There's nothing in this life. The only thing in this life that you are guaranteed is death. That's it. That's the only thing that you absolutely are promised in this lifetime. And to stretch it out, I think keeping the retirement age fixed as is will force people to be more. Will force people to number one, be more conscious about their spending, Number two, we'll force them to be more resourceful. We'll force them to be more economical. We'll trigger a few things, because I keep telling people, as much as you think that you cannot save, I can go into anybody's budget who's saying, man, it's hard, and say, you know, let me see where I can find a couple of dollars. Just a couple to rejig and to move over. And it's difficult, but listen, nothing that is worthwhile is going to be easy. And I'm not saying that it should be painful until you die, but you got to sometimes do the hard things now so you can do the good things later.
Correct.
Right? When you want to do it, when you want to spend time with your grandchildren, your children, your family, take a trip.
But what is the workaround? If one may be thinking that, let's say, just speaking broad brush, that this one wins political points, but not looking at the long-term implications of what this bill could actually impose, what would be the alternative workaround then? If we're seeing where that is, let's say, God forbid, it makes it. It ends up on the order paper. It's debated upon, because we all know how they're afraid of losing votes. And just under pressure, unless the people speak out, no, this have long, you know, you understand what I'm saying? What would be the workaround?
100%. But I think that we as the voting populace, we also have an obligation to best we can to galvanize people so that people are fully aware, fully apprised. So the person who is in the civil service right now, who is 60 years old, edging up on 65, who had decided in their minds that I cannot make ends meet, I have to continue working, they're going to be in favor of this bill. However, we have to ensure that people understand the true cost. And the true cost isn't always financial, Sabrina. And I think that we only see, for a long time, we only see the dollars and cents of something, but we don't hone in and focus on what's truly at stake. What's truly at stake. The one thing in this lifetime that you will spend, that you will never get back, is time. Once it's done, it's done. You can't go back, you can't skip forward. Time, right? Time is money, but time is so precious. Life is so short and unpredictable, and to spend it in any other way than a meaningful way, it's just, I just don't understand. But again, to follow up on what you just said, raising the retirement age personally, and you know what? People are free to disagree with me. This is an observation that I have made. This is an observation that I have made about the civil service based on conversations with civil servants who went into the civil service very young and ended their career in there. Civil servants who went into the civil service and just said, absolutely not. This is just not for me. Continuing to increase the retirement age, again, also puts succession planning even farther.
It pushes it back. Yes. Which is why a younger caller actually emphasized that. And, you know, but I wanted to just bring how the mechanism is real, because caller, a lot of people did not realize that this was actually in the standing orders. You hear mostly about motions being brought by private members, but you never heard of a new piece of law. It's really seldomly heard, but it is a reality. It can become a reality.
But it shows how far we have to go as a democracy so that people actually understand and know how the mechanisms in Parliament can work and how they can either positively or adversely affect us all. Because guess what? We all know someone in the civil service, more than one, young, old, and in between. And you know, you look back now and you think about people who, so I can think of relatives who were retired out of the civil service, who would have loved to have stayed on, who I believe, like everybody else, could use the work, could use the money,
right?
But they also didn't have that opportunity. What do you say about people like them? Are the ones there now more important than the ones who left? like, and I know you can't do this retroactively, but what happens when that person who is a former civil servant comes back and says, well, I reached 70, so,
Hire me
how
back.
about giving me a shot? Yeah, giving me a shot. Again, I think that we have to create a level playing field where there is adequate room for us all to grow, adequate room for us to all be there and to participate in creating, dare I say, creating, because I don't think it exists, a world-class civil service that I think would propel Cayman forward in so many ways, not just nationally, not just locally, but internationally as well. But I don't think I don't think that that's going to be achieved by raising the retirement age. That only adds to what I think is a bit of chaos that exists in there currently. You have some wonderful civil servants, but you have some not so wonderful ones too. And unfortunately, they're all getting kind of painted with the same brush at one time or another, and not in a good way. Not suggesting that this increase of age, but what I'm saying is, let me just put this out there. I'm not speaking about the current receptionist, but let me just say, why should the receptionist at the civil service be there until she's 70 years old? Why?
But don't they have a choice? I saw where Miss Marjorie, who said people can leave at any time, right? And then I also have another comment here, which is quite interesting. Not everyone agrees. I think they meant to say caller. Some of us prefer to be around others. I'm sure that the people that introduced this bill have spoken to us and came to a decision through the people.
That's another advantage. That's another perspective as well. But my life coach always says to me, the good of many outweigh the good of one, right? And the democracy that we're in, if it goes, Sabrina, and we put it out there, and we have made a determination with all of the information. I mean, the financial implications, what is it doing to these people's lives and health, with all of the information that is available to us. And we still make a decision that it is in the best interest of the Cayman Islands. It just cannot be for the civil service, Sabrina, because we are all bearing the cost of the civil service, of their operating budget, of their expenses. We are all contributing toward that.
I have another commenter. I have another comment. It says, I support this. People should have a choice. At 65, I am still giving my 100% to an NPO. And I would love the option to earn a salary if I could find work. Living on a 1,400 pension is not realistic for most people. Retirement can also bring loneliness and many times others sickness. Many people in their 70s are healthier and more capable than those in their 30s. In relation to succession planning, I quite understand. Maybe there could be certain job categories for seniors.
That's another perspective to consider. Again, I won't be clear. I'm not saying that my opinion is
which is why I'm sharing all of the comments so that we can get a bit of balance.
And I'm not 70, so my kids are fairly young. I can't identify, and I think I highlighted that this pittance that they give people to retire on is exactly that, a pittance, right? But again, that commenter's perspective is that they still have a lot more to give, right? But again, at what extent is this being given?
Well, like I said, what is the workaround if that is not the case? I have a commenter on WhatsApp that says that they feel people should be given the option. Miss Marjorie also commented earlier on that at any point in time of anybody's career, they have the right to stop working. But if it is a case where, let's say hypothetically, the pension age then is raised to 70, okay? You wouldn't be able to necessarily, and I stand to be corrected, to tap into those benefits until then. So unless it's a phased retirement that includes pension reform as well, that says once you actually hit 65, it's almost, you can't have your cake and eat it too almost, but maybe these are some of the things, incentivized post-retirement contracts. There could be cases where there could be some, including these flexible phased retirement. The pension reform would have to go along with that as well. And then you have the upskilling and mid-career transition. So again, it's a number of things outside of raising the ceiling.
Let's be clear that there are persons currently in the civil service who are above the natural retirement age as defined by the
law,
by the Employment Act, who are contracted employees. Let's not pretend that there is not a fix without putting in a new piece of legislation. If you have someone in there who is great and does wonders to the civil service, that is worth their salt and worth keeping, for whatever reason, right? There is an option in keeping that person as a contract employee versus, so there is to an extent, and bear in mind that albeit we do have a natural retirement age which determines at what point pension is payable and no further contributions are required and so forth. That's already defined in legislation. And currently, also in the private sector, you have, in some private sectors, have made the retirement age, and they too have contract employees who are quote unquote retired, are taking a pension, and those places have opted to keep them on for whatever reason. I think that's a good thing, Sabrina, but at the end of the day, we shouldn't continue to move the goalposts in search of this pot of gold that I don't think exists. I mean, at the end of, like I said, I don't think that an additional 5 years is going to make you a millionaire. I don't think that. I don't think blinking an additional 5 years in your pension, especially if the retirement age is hard and fast and has been defined, you don't even get the benefit of an additional pension contribution in some instances.
But you see, this is why raising that, and it would be interesting, hypothetically, if this becomes a reality, and let's say it comes to the table, we don't know, right? There could be other things that come up in a debate that would require other pieces of legislation, i.e. pension, that would require amendments should it be passed. Because remember, let's say it's voted for unanimously for whatever reason, be it pressure or not, because it's going to take some, it's going to be emotive. It's going to be a gamble. And I can see if something of this nature makes it on the floor of Parliament, that a division is called. So everyone has to play their hand. Yeah. Let me tell you this. Now, this is one that if it actually makes it to the floor of Parliament and debated on, I can see a division being called. Because something like this,
people want to know.
Exactly. And motions of this on national policy issues, even though it may not have necessarily been a part of the big strategic policy statement, the mere fact that this provision is alive and in standing orders and covers under Section 48, this is topical that it could actually be labeled as one of national policy.
It could be, but again, I think right now our focus should be on how we can bring trust me, I dare you to go and ask somebody who is 6 to 7 to 8 is still working, because you do have 80-year-olds still out there working.
Yeah.
And let's just say all things being equal, and they truly didn't have to work. They were working for more of a keep their minds young. And we actually had a facility where our senior citizens. I don't like to refer to them as senior citizens, but
Older
that we had a
persons or
place,
seniors.
correct, where they could meet and catch up and do things to keep their minds young and sharp. I don't see anybody getting up out of their bed to go put on their clothes, to go sit down in someone's office all day long, or whatever it is that they're doing.
Some actually like that. I saw a story the other day. I think I stand to be corrected on Fox. This woman was 90 something, but hold on. Her reason in the US was because she was living in a trailer home, not stigmatizing her anyway, but she's a loner, and her retirement wasn't enough for her to even upkeep her place. And she was actually working in one of the retail stores closed at 90.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
She needed to work.
Yes.
That was the operative word. But Sabrina, in a country like Cayman, that boasts the GDP and the wealth that we do, that should not be a thing. Why is it that in 2026 we have uninsured senior citizens? Why is it in 2026 we have uninsured children in this country because their parents simply cannot afford to put them on their insurance policy?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've regressed as a society. To me, increasing that age would be a further regression into what feels like an abyss.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's good to get the feedback from everyone, because now I'm seeing we're Tartarian, and I deliberately have the motion up, section 48, that says this is hold on, Tartarian, I'll read yours in a second. And caller, you can weigh in on this as well. Every voter needs to understand this section 48, that when a private member's motion, that's the opposition or an independent MP, brings a bill or a motion to Parliament and it is passed, it just doesn't sit on a shelf, In accordance to this section 48 of the standing orders of this 2025, if a motion deals with national policy, that we're obviously seeing where this could be a national debate, the clerk must send it to cabinet secretary within a week. From there, it then goes to cabinet for formal consideration. And it doesn't stop there, because guess what? At the next sitting of Parliament, the Premier or the Governor, minister appointed by the Premier, must report back to the House on what cabinet decided. So you see, it just doesn't stay in la la land. There are actually specific time frames. So the answer is yes. Should there be a private member's bill that can shape national policy, which we're hearing this could shape national policy if it becomes a reality, and government is required to respond? We know they have to debate it in the public on the record. What do you call that, my love? To me,
I don't know.
That's accountability. That's democracy in action.
But, it's rather sad and a little bit disheartening that in 2026, with an election just months behind us, that we have this level of secrecy and shoo-shooing and don't tell nobody from Parliament. I don't get it. They said you never see smoke without fire. And so if it don't go so, it goes something so.
But I'm seeing the rumblings on social media, and I've heard it as well.
It's quite sad.
Yeah.
I think we all have. It's quite sad. I don't care who brings the bill, but to note that the opposition represents they have people that they represent too. And they have people who have expectations of them. But aside from that, remove the idea of government and the opposition. All 19 of them have individual constituency obligations. I don't care if they're a minister or not. All 19 have constituency obligations. And that we can be sitting down over here and Cayman is simply too small, Sabrina. That we over here hemming and hawing and wondering, could it be so? Could it really be so? And you
But then you
calling
have
me and I
those who
calling
are
you, and
probably rejoicing and hoping it comes to reality. And then you have those
because
that are
they
like
feel,
yourself.
because they feel that this is, because they feel like this is their only way. This is their only way. But what I'm saying is, if it doesn't come to fruition, then what are you going to do? Die at 65?
No, I saw
What are you
where
gonna do?
somebody says we'll seek benefits from DFA. The
What are
70s
you
and
gonna,
over will
but
then seek benefits and funds from
But
DFA.
I think we've already kind of, I don't think we've accepted it, but we've made a determination that based on what we're seeing so far, based on just solely what is paid out of a private pension fund, unless you have a very, very lucrative career and we're able to put aside hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can have plenty in your pension fund and still only get $1,500, $1,500 US per month to live on.
Mm-hmm.
So are you in a farther ahead?
Hmm.
By moving the age to 70, are you in a farther ahead? And you're doing this for the civil servant. Are you suggesting that the Caymanians in the private sector, we're going to be paying a different kind of expense, or do we not matter? Do we not matter? Because, I mean, the private sector has a role to play too in Caymanian employment field as well.
Well,
So,
I gotta be
civil
honest
service-
with you. If something like this was to actually make it on an order paper to raise this retirement age in the Cayman Islands civil service, make no mistakes. Makes no mistakes. This will become a matter of national importance.
But it would have to, Sabrina. It would have to. It would be nonsensical, in my opinion, for it to not be.
It may not have intended to be one of national, but it would become one of national importance because
Just sweep it under the rug kind of deal.
look at the thousands of civil servants, from teachers straight down to police officers, prison workers. You understand? I mean, you got look at all of the departments.
All we're doing is increasing national debt. That's what they need to talk about increasing the age. What they need to do is try to work on a national insurance plan so that they can cut down the cost of what our health insurance looks like, so that everybody can have equal access to health care. What they need to do is start looking into some of those pension companies that are pissing people's money away every friggin' month. Use my language, but this irritates me. Pissing our monies away every month. Nobody can go and shake their finger at the pension company and say, well, where are you putting my money? But we want to talk about increasing the age so that we can give up more money to piss away? No. Miss me with all of it. Miss me with all of it. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable that you think that somehow, in order to put more money in people's pockets, we're going to move the goalpost by which they should be enjoying the latter years of their life. I'm sorry, no. I'm not suggesting that somebody at 65 is dying or should die, or I'm not suggesting that at all. But for some people, that's what they want. That's what they want. And again, I am mindful and minded to think about succession planning. When you have somebody who's been in the role since Jesus was a boy, probably as old as Methuselah donkey, no, you're moving the goalpost. And you have some young children who are coming out of high school, who aren't moving on to tertiary education, who should be able to eke out a career in the civil service if given the opportunity, but can't do so because Methuselah donkey is in the seat. No, Sabrina, that's not acceptable.
But
and
what
that
if
is
you
not
say about
succession
those
planning.
persons who then are there and they have the experience? Should
your
they
job
still
is
be
to
preserved
teach, but
because
your-
their age?
But your job is to teach.
I'm just hypothetically, yeah. And the
Your job
success,
is to
yeah.
teach. You're not going to be here forever. Your job is to teach. Well, you think the civil service is going to dry up after you die? That never happened. And guess what? And if you happen to roll over before that 70 that they're planning to move it to, guess what? They already have a replacement. That don't go just for the civil service.
I see a comment here. It's called supply and demand. We don't have enough supply of affordable housing and good paying jobs for people we have here, and you will keep bringing millions more. That's a comment that was made. And a comment was made by Ms. Sue McLaughlin, which was very interesting. Yes, and I quote, yes, nothing here to do for us older people. Other islands have dances. Sorry, a comment came in. Other islands have dances in the daytime and everybody to mix together, not Cayman. Doesn't only sit around tables chatting, sewing dominoes, not good enough. And Sue also says, not everyone works for government. Well, in this case, Miss Sue, it was a hypothetical suggestion for the sake of how you propose a bill, because people didn't understand, or I was shocked that a lot of people, Miss Sue, did not understand that a member of the opposition can actually put in a bill for the sitting government to debate on. Yep. So that is where this was born on. And I hypothetically, because I saw some rumblings, I heard some rumblings that is a suggestion to increase the retirement age of the civil service, not private sector, that there could be a bill.
Not yet.
There could be a bill proposing that, Miss Sue. So that's to bring you up to speed. That is where this came. And Harry Brandon, yes, we do have members of the elected government that actually abstain. And your question was, who writes the order paper? There's a committee within the House that actually meets, makeup of that's chaired by the Speaker, members of the opposition, and members of the government, and they decide the order paper. That is a separate arm. When you actually sit on those committees, you're not sitting as a cabinet minister, you're sitting as a member of parliament representing the people in this case. Damian Henry said, I was reading about this double dipping post-60 work brackets. The law allows person who reach the age of 60 to start receiving pension benefits, even if they continue to work. What is going to happen because the retirement age is constantly on the rise? How will that work? Well, we're having both sides. And I like the feedback that we're getting, comments and feedbacks from those who are for, who are on the fence, who are realistic, who are just crying out more for those who are in the senior.
I hope that the ones that we have given, that we have charged with making decisions in our best interest, are those are the ones who need to be listening. Those are the ones who, I dare say, need to be paying attention. Because I mean, we can talk about this till we're blue in the face, and at the end of the day, I mean, look at the immigration bill. We spoke ad nauseum about it. Not that we didn't need immigration reform, but that we needed some time. It should have been not rushed and rammed down people's throats. And as we continue, so if we move the retirement age, this is something that just came to me right now. Speak to anybody in the private sector, you're seeing a lot of roles being outsourced out of Cayman. Okay? The cost of doing business in Cayman is astronomical. Astronomical. You can find somebody to do pretty near the same thing for a fraction of the cost. We don't have any legislation that hinders that or hampers that or whatever. I'll just give you an example. FACA CRS. Before, the requirement was that the reporting person be in the Cayman Islands. That is no longer the requirement. The cost of that reporting person now being able to be located in East Jabid. Nobody cares where they're located as long as they can meet the obligations of the legislation. Nobody don't care where they are. So we've now made ourselves through. So I just want everybody to consider, and while we're talking that it's hypothetically, going to be for the civil service right now, you think that people in the private sector are not going to be clamoring and saying, well, they're going to
be pressured.
We want it for us too. And so all of a sudden, Sabrina, that's the receptionist that was 60, about to go out the door at 65, start saying, well, I got me another 10 years on this. And guess what? That job becomes no longer required. Sabrina thought she was going to be there at least at 65. Actually, they've made a different decision. Sabrina is going to be made redundant. She's only going to get 12 years, but 30 years of service. So I just want us to think about the long-term effects of what feel like very short-sighted
gains,
well, very short-sighted gains, in my opinion. And again, I would welcome another perspective, because for me, I'm over here freaking out and saying, what? I would love to see the other side of the coin.
This is why public debates are key, because like I said, right now it's just shoo-shoo. Hence the hypothetical presentation. But the whole meaning behind this topic today was to really highlight, in accordance to the Parliament Standing Order of 2025, that it is real. And there's nothing, it is covered in law. So there's really nothing stopping it as long as the process is followed. And once that private member, in this case, the elected member in the opposition, follows the rules, meet the criteria, which I've cited and I've outlined here, the general rules and all that sort of stuff, not even the speaker can says, Bobo, TD, this not going. No, he's bounded to put it on the order paper.
Well, what is need to bring bills for? They're not bringing for what?
Well, then, but who do you blame for that? Because whichever member, hypothetically, that would bring a bill like this, it is open, it is clear to see that it is there in standing orders for them to do it. So who do you blame? We want this law on X, or just give an example of something, for example.
Whatever. Wait, cars on Monday.
Okay, example. Any sitting member of parliament can actually, in accordance to standing order, bring that.
Absolutely. But I just do what I just said out there as an absurdity, right? And you might say, well, Siobhan, come on, that's absurd. Now you're being facetious and silly and stupid or whatever you want to call me, right? But I think that the more that we allow Parliament to be on a runaway train and left unchecked and unaccountable, the more absurd things could become.
Well, this is why we're having civic talk right here. Because some people will say, that not gonna happen. She just trying to create content.
Yeah.
It's not me. I am telling you what's in the law. I even covered it in Constitution. And there's nothing that actually stops it.
Nothing. It don't happen until it happens.
Exactly. But
it
now
doesn't happen until it happens. And then we're all caught with our pants down and you'll be like, well, in 2026, we in 2028, Sabrina, we're talking about that 2 years ago. And child, the government I would have never thought the government would have done that. I would have never thought
in
that.
hindsight, yeah. Because sometimes
if I had always come last.
Mm-hmm.
If I had always come last.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we got to be visionaries. I think we've got to be ahead of ourselves. I think we've got all of those good things.
We have to take us out of it. We have to and look for the greater good. We can't just think of a me. They can't. Yes.
The good of the many outweigh the good of the one. So no, I sympathize and I empathize with the civil servants that is really having to stay there because of finances or whatever. But guess what? See that? CUC sends me a bill every month too.
Mm-hmm.
Every month too. Send Sabrina one every month too. And what you should actually be lobbying for is for changes within, in this case, and I will not stop harping on it. I think it is one of the biggest expenses people face post-retirement is insurance. It's health insurance.
Yeah, I've heard
for a fairer pension payout.
I have heard prominent, meaning all sectors, where you would look at some people and say, well, that one shouldn't be hurting. Well, oh my God.
Yeah.
Why they complaining? Let me tell you something. I have heard all levels of people talk that their deciding factor of retiring in another man's country
is health insurance. It's health insurance.
They could have paid off their house. They could have done everything. They could live a very comfortable life going into their golden years with dignity. But the cost of independent health insurance, if they're not civil servants, is actually breaking them.
But let's not talk about all civil servants, because that red carpet doesn't extend to all civil servants.
No, I know, but I'm just speaking in general now, because that is one of the main reasons why I hear a lot of Caymanians. No, the main reason that I'm hearing a lot of Caymanians saying, look, I'm looking someplace else to possibly retire. And one of the main reasons is cost of health insurance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not sad.
Yeah.
That in 2026, we're farther behind in terms of what we do for people like our most vulnerable, children, seniors, and our indigent friends.
Mm-hmm.
That, wow.
Yeah.
Not a lot to be proud of.
Exactly. But yeah, at the end of the day, that is where we are. It is going to be, we'll definitely keep our hands on the pulse here and follow this, because you got to almost put the pieces of the puzzle together, you know. But like you said,
I'm
you
holding
said it, you know.
I'm holding your foot to the fire.
You said it, you know.
Better stay on top of it.
Yeah, you said it though, you know. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. I never invented that name.
Exactly. No, I know that. I know, but you said it for the context of this episode. I brought the topic because I heard the shoes, and I just wanted to show it from the legislative side of things, that it is possible, because I was shocked, to be honest, that there were a number of people who had no clue that it could become a reality.
But do you think that?
Like they didn't understand it then.
But there are people who don't understand the regular workings of
government. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
And I get that. And I think that we have an obligation as the voting public to do better.
Mm-hmm.
To do better. Understand that sometimes the job of a politician is to be a politician, which is to continue to swindle you out, get you out to vote, and sometimes do absolutely nothing for you. But we've got to stay informed, stay above, which is why I think platforms like yours is so important, that you can offer the perspective that you do, having been there, having formerly been there. I ain't talking about the naysayers. They don't sit this one out. I ain't talking about them.
That's all right. It takes all kinds to make up the world, my sweet.
I would just want to say, take all kinds to make this world, and we have to acknowledge, give them a little honor, right?
If you were loved by everybody, something would be wrong.
Yeah.
That's something not right.
To quote Miss Brenda, a speaker of the truth has no friends.
Exactly.
Don't worry about them.
And I'm so used to being in that alone in the corner. It's a norm.
That's it. Right? But at the end of the day, the good of many must outweigh the good of one.
Correct.
Each one of them is just one. At the end of the day, they're still one. Whether they're in a party, whether they're on the government, whether they're still a party, one. They got one constituency.
It's true.
One.
It's true.
You understand? They're on that ballot paper by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to hold them accountable. We need to fight for things that are more, what I perceive to be more valuable than taking a one lick or a one-time thing. We need to be visionaries. We need to think farther ahead. We need to think about
bigger. We have to widen.
Yes, we need to widen our horizons, and we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable for the short time, so that we can see, this is where we were going.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they were thinking about. This was a part of the plan. You may not see it. You may not see it now, and I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy. But just for 2 seconds, back to the prominent people that you talked about. Let's give a very round figure of $5,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. How far that can get you,
right? In 2026, a single person on a decent insurance plan. I'm not talking about that shit plan.
Mm-hmm.
Decent insurance plan from a private healthcare thing, not cynical, because I can tell you right now,
you got half a minute, 6:59. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, if you can afford to pay for private insurance, not a lot of people are taking cynical. I can tell you that. Ain't nobody signing up to only go to HSC.
Mm-hmm.
And $5,000, you got CUC. If in 2026 the light bills are $700 a month, what do you think they could be 20 years down there? 17.
Alternate energy source. We got hope. Leave me there.
Bye.
Take care. Till tomorrow. There we have it. As we wrap up today, please remember, our democracy is strongest when we understand it. And that's why I take the time out. Trust me. And the Constitution, for the record, gives every MP the right to bring a bill. And the standing orders, that ensures the bill must be heard. And to you, the people, you ensure that Parliament remains accountable. It has been my pleasure bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Hey, Miss Joyce, you're late to class. Denver Douglas says, we're setting ourselves up for failure and becoming a third world country, Tartarian says, and I could not agree with you more. They need to put themselves in the know and stop scrolling on their phones. If you didn't know it before, now you do. It has been a pleasure. Please be safe on our roads. God bless. Until tomorrow, love you lots. Take care.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.